afternoon. Welcome to the Harrisonburg Rotary Club on this rainy day. I hope everyone's as excited as I am about a rainy day. I hope we get a couple more of those. And I really believe that. As a matter of fact, the other things I believe on are in the four-way test that we're going to do now of the things that we think, say, and do.
First is the truth. Second is fair to all concerned. Third will build goodwill and better friendships. Fourth will be beneficial to all concerned.
Today's song is by Lynn singing God Bless America. That's what I'm here for.
Talking about getting older. God bless. Oh,
beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crowned thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
Now let's turn to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's always a privilege for me to introduce Myron as our invocation person for today. So Myron is going to say our blessing.
Let's pray. We thank you, our Father, for your grace and love, for all that you give us to enjoy. We're mindful of the many people who suffer in the world. We pray a special ministry through the church to them. Thank you for our fellowship here at this table, these tables. Enrich our lives by your Spirit. Enable us to honor you in all of life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. And I'll call Dan up to announce our guests and visiting Rotarians.
Hello, Rotarians. Good to see you again. Haven't seen you for a couple weeks. We have some guests today I'd like to introduce. Lynn has a guest. Dale Shoup is here.
Yes, today is Dale Shoup. His daughter Caroline has second scholarship. And he is with yes type. A potential member.
Welcome, Dale. Chaz Hayward has some lovely guests here today.
Great. Thank you for turning the air conditioning on, by the way. So I'm excited, fellow Rotarians, to have my three daughters with me here today. I'm going to introduce them. Amanda Atwell, she has been here before. She is a Paul Harris Fellow. Amanda has two amazing grandchildren, because that's the most important thing to me. But she also just recently opened the Aristocat Tea Room and Cafe over on Little League next to the former Hess building. So welcome, Amanda. Lillian Costner. Lillian's my middle daughter. She's married to Matthew. Lillian is actually just hired by Thomas Harrison Middle School as a special ed teacher, so we're excited about that. And Faith, the youngest, Faith is awesome. Faith does substitute teaching and also works at the Cat Cafe, and she just has such an exciting, fun life as a 21-year-old. So please welcome my three daughters.
Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you.
So we're going to get a chance to do a special presentation for some Paul Harris Fellows here in a minute, and that will include, is it still on? Okay, that will include these ladies here. So with that said, I want to take a moment just to see if there's any family of Rotary items that anybody wants to bring to our attention. None? Okay. So a couple of quick announcements. We've got a lot of things we're going to do today, so I'll move quickly, and we have a great speaker. But I want to remind you of the Rotary Social coming up. It is June 29 at Bella Luna from 5 to 7. And there will be, I'm keep looking at Brayden, who is the master of this event, and will be wonderful hors d'oeuvres, drink tickets. Bring a potential member, a friend along. We'd love you to come. This is a social event for us and a membership event. And in our goal to continue to building diversity in our club, we're inviting the Be Cubed group from the chamber as well. So it should be a fun event, and we'd love for you guys to come. And there will be, I think an email already went out from the club email for you to respond to. Just a little heads up, service projects. The big one for us is August 26th, which is Valley Fest, and we'll give out, we already gave, Michael put out a save the date, but there'll be more information coming. And there's some other service opportunities in the works. And also again, like I said, June 26th will be our leadership transition meeting coming up here in a couple of weeks. And so just to get a couple of those things out in front of you. Now, one of the things I'm gonna do is several Paul Harris Fellow presentations, and our club members understand what that's about, is to honor people who give toward the foundation, which does wonderful work around the world, and sometimes there's gifts done in honor of wonderful people, like is the case today. So I will read this because it's worth reading, but I only do it once. I won't do it 5 times. This is a long read, so bear with me. It's important though. The presentation of Paul Harris Fellow recognition is Rotary Foundation's way of expressing its appreciation for a substantial contribution to its humanitarian and educational programs. It's named for Rotary's founder, a Chicago lawyer who started our organization in 1905. A world of peace and goodwill comes closer today as these folks we're about to introduce become Paul Harris Fellows. The Rotary Foundation's educational humanitarian programs is a commitment to peace and to a better life for people and the membership of this club. And it is because of the gifts such as this that Rotary Foundation can carry out an array of programs that achieve beneficial changes in our world, improve living conditions, increased food production, better education, wider availability of treatment and rehabilitation for the sick and disabled, new channels for the flow of international understanding, and brighter hopes for peace. In becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, these folks, or in some cases there's going to be some multiples, join a remarkable company of persons throughout the world. They are recognized for their devotion to the ideal of goodwill, peace, and understanding, a goal of Rotarians the world over and over share. So it gives me great pleasure to present to you these Paul Harris folks, and I will present them here a little bit at a time, and I will read the quote. I think this is Paul's quote. Paul Harris said this. He who tries to find the good in others will be rewarded, for others will surely find the good in him. Of all the earth's sad and lonesome creatures, the most helpless is he who loves not his fellow men. So with that said, I want to start with a presentation to a person who has been a wonderful contribution to this club and to the board, and is a Paul Harris Fellow, and that is Robin Newpower. Robin, if you would come up, please. Appreciate that. And next, I would ask to come forward Chaz's daughters, and I don't remember the names of the two, but the two that are getting presented today, please come forward. First of all, Lillian Grace Cosner, I'll let you, Dad, to great. A formal presentation.
Can I pin this on?
Oh, sure. I didn't give Robin that honor for me to actually, but it's.
So I was asked real quick, he asked if I would say something, if I'd say something about this. You know, I find it really important. We're losing, generational wise, we lose some things with Rotary and service. And it's just really important for me to include my kids so they understand they've been coming since 1990 something. And I just want them to understand the importance of servitude, certainly to our community and that involvement. And I feel like it's the right way to do it through Paul Harris. So that's why they're doing this.
Thank you. And also Faith Kathleen Pearl Evans Haywood.
please.
I want to mention two more. So there's a gentleman that we presented earlier, a Paul Harris 6 and 7, 6 times and 7 times that preferred it not to be a public. I also have one here today that is Paul Harris number 7 and number 8 for Gary Nichols. Gary, please come up. Thank you very much, Gary. That's amazing. I won't pin anything on you. Okay. Thank you all for generously contributing to these great ideals around the world. And I sometimes have taken what's sent to me to make introductions of speakers, and I've struck some things or shortened things. But in this case, in honor of this resume, and I think it's important work that you want to hear about, you're going to get to hear me read some more. So bear with me. But today's guest speaker is Malika Carter-Hoyt, PhD. She serves as the new Vice President for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Chief Diversity Officer at JMU. Carter-Hoyt comes to JMU from the State University of New York College of Environmental Science and Forestry. In 2017, she joined the SUNY ESF community as the college's first CDO. She's also served as the CDO for SUNY Upstate Medical University and is the Chief Executive Officer of Passion for Pivot LLC, a social justice consulting firm. Before beginning her work at SUNY ESF, she was the inaugural CDO for the city of Worcester, Massachusetts. Carter-Hoyt earned her doctorate. Did I say it wrong?
Worcester.
Okay. You have some Northeast roots, Shannon, I'm guessing. Carter-Hoyt earned her doctorate in philosophy with a concentration in institutional analysis from North Dakota State University, master's degree in higher ed and student affairs administration from the University of Vermont. Bachelor of Science degree in middle childhood education from Cleveland State University. Go Cleveland, I'm a fan. Dan is as well. An Associate of Art with concentration in stenography from Cuyahoga Community College. Among her numerous awards and accomplishments, Carter-Hoyt was presented with the Harriet Tubman Freedom Fund Award during the Syracuse NAACP's 42nd Annual Freedom Fund Virtual Dinner in 2021. This award, the highest honor given by the organization, is presented annually to an individual whose extraordinary leadership and efforts have contributed to eradicating racial injustice, promoting social equity, and advancing and improving the community at large. In her time at JMU, Carter-Hoyt has been named as an impact maker in the 100 People to Meet by Virginia Business and was accepted to the NASA Astrophysics Database of Global DEI practitioners who will evaluate the inclusion plans of scientific proposals submitted. Lastly, as an active member of the Associate of Public and Land Grant University's Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Carter-Hoyt agrees to serve as CDI's liaison to the Council on Strategic Communication. So she's done a couple of things. Sounds like she knows what she's talking about. So please come up and speak to us. Let's welcome her.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Press the middle button.
I did, it's green. Maybe if I elevate this a little bit more, you might be able to hear me a little bit better. Reinforcements.
Let's try that.
Can you hear me now? All right, so I'll use this handheld mic as well. Want to make sure that we are doing what is accessible, that everybody can hear okay. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you each and every Rotarian that is here and those who are absent from us today. I definitely appreciate the invitation. And there is just so much to tell you in so little time. 50 minutes is what you said? No. I don't have that much time, so I'll be brief. But I did want to say that I am extremely grateful for being in your presence, particularly speaking as a person who was president of her Rotary Club for 3 years. And as soon, and I share with your president, if he did not say, you know what, would you like to join? If he didn't say that, I would have been disappointed. So thank you very much for being able to say that to me. And I got to work on it. Got so much, but we'll see. I wanted to start with the video because this video, which is about 3 minutes and some change, will share with you what the foundation of my work does. And I'm really hoping that you will be able to take this video. By the way, I'm a resource person. Take it and share it elsewhere. It's called the Charter for Compassion. Anybody in the room seen it before? I seen it at my first Rotary Club, and then it was also shown at my first Rotary Convention experience in Lisbon, Portugal. So here we go.
The principle of compassion lies at the heart of all religious, ethical, and spiritual traditions,
calling us always to treat all others as we wish to be treated ourselves.
Compassion impels us to work tirelessly to alleviate the suffering of our fellow creatures.
To dethrone ourselves from the center of our world and put another there.
To honor the inviolable sanctity of every single human being.
Treating everybody without exception.
With absolute justice, equity, and respect.
It is also necessary in both public and private life.
To refrain consistently and empathically from inflicting pain.
To act or speak violently out of spite, chauvinism, or self-interest.
To impoverish, exploit, or deny basic rights to anybody.
And to incite hatred by denigrating others, even our enemies.
Is a denial of our common humanity.
We acknowledge that we have failed to live compassionately.
And that some have even increased the sum of human misery in the name of religion.
We therefore call upon all men and women
to restore compassion
to the center of morality and religion.
To return to the ancient principle
that any interpretation of Scripture
that breeds violence,
hatred, or disdain
is illegitimate.
To ensure that youth are given accurate and respectful information
about other traditions, religions, and cultures.
To encourage a positive appreciation
of cultural and religious diversity.
To cultivate
an informed empathy
with the suffering of all human beings,
even those
regarded as enemies.
We urgently need to make compassion a clear, luminous, and dynamic force in our polarized world.
Rooted in a principled determination to transcend selfishness.
Compassion can break down political, dogmatic, ideological, and religious boundaries.
Born of our deep interdependence, compassion is essential for human relationships and to a fulfilled humanity.
It is the path to enlightenment and indispensable in the creation of a just economy and a peaceful global community.
Go to the next tab, please. If you yourself are interested in utilizing the Charter for Compassion, please do. I will ask you just by raising of hands. How many people think they could use that anywhere? That's good. That's good. Some people may be tired. They were like, I don't know, I'm not going to raise my hand. But that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. What I'm going to do also is show you a little, and I just Googled myself. That seems odd to do, but I just did it. And my affiliation with Rotary. And so I just wanted to show you some of the experience that I have had. Oh, hi, people on the camera. Sorry, I'm moving so much. Thank you. And that is that Rotary has been part and parcel of my life ever since I was introduced to me. Thomas Riley, who was over our district at that time, also was the dean of a college that I was working at. And he invited me to lunch. And you know, when people with big wigs invite you to lunch, you know, it's very impressive. And so I went and he said, you know what, I see some qualities in you that I think that you may enjoy being a part of Rotary. And you know what I said, right? What's that? And so he said, you ever been driving on the road? You know how we explain it to people. And so he explained it to me. And therefore, I began to be involved in group study exchange. How many people remember that? Group study exchange was my first experience with Rotary. I was not a Rotarian, and I applied to go, and I went over to Taipei, Taiwan to do my profession. And I was lucky because I worked in higher education, so I got a lot of memorandums of understanding signed. So now still, even today, students are coming over from Taipei, and then I'm going over, or they're sending people over and vice versa, over to America. And we host people in our own homes. They don't stay in hotels because that's not how Rotarians do it. So I was very grateful for that experience, and that launched me into being a super Rotarian. So I was like, what else can I do? What else can I do? And it just really set me up for a lot of success. But one thing that it also did was deepen my commitment to inclusion and diversity and equity. And I mean those things as separate concepts. Not what you may be hearing, that DEI is the same concept, but it is three separate concepts. And something that I wanted to share with you, which is probably the next slide, that not only do, or next tab, is that not only do I do this for university or college, because I want to make sure that my portfolio is diverse and that I'm keeping up with very contemporary things as they come along. I also do this for business and industry. So hospitals, nonprofits, government, lots of folks call. Usually when there's a claim of protected class discrimination, they got to pay through the nose. But usually we try to get people before that. So our tagline is eliminate bias, minimize litigation, and increase productivity. And so I want to make sure that you know that I'm not just housed in higher education, but I see this globally, very broadly as three different concepts and topics. And then this last slide, why do I keep saying that, tab, that I'm going to share with you. And this is here at James Madison University, which is a stone's throw from here. We have policies that align with inclusion and diversity and equity. We also have Virginia and federal laws that comply. Could you click that one that says federal and Virginia laws? You scooch down a little bit, scooch, the official word. Yeah. Now, when people are asking me, they're saying, what is inclusion? What's diversity? What's equity? One of the things that I like to share with them is that it's based in federal law. And in order for us to make sure that institutions and agencies are behaving in such a way where all people feel welcome and included, we got to do the same thing. And the same thing says things like Title VII, Title IX, executive orders, pregnancy discrimination acts, because there once upon a time was somebody who walked into an agency or institution and they said, hey, I want access. And they were like, no, you can't come in here. And they were like, what you mean I can't come in here? Because I'm a woman? Because I'm polka dot? Because I'm a man? Because I'm striped? Because I'm tall? Because I'm short? Whatever that protected class is. By the way, does everybody know what protected classes are? Tell me, give me some. Disability. Keep going. Back table, come on now. Y'all can do it.
Women over 50.
People over 40. Okay, so we got lots, right? And so our federal law is the way it is because somebody walked into an agency or institution and they said, you know what? I got something to contribute. I want you to treat me as such. And when that agency or institution did not, you have a whole movement. What are some movements in history? Tell me. Civil rights, give me another one. Stonewall, women's suffrage. You got lots of them. ADA movement, 1990s. There's several movements, right? So then those movements cause national attention. And then the national attention, therefore, then cause the legislation to happen. So this means that we need to include all the people, right? To make the human world better. Now, I want you to think about this. I'm going to give you like 5 seconds to think about it. Can you think about anyone in your family or in your immediate friend group? Think back. That did not get access to an agency or an institution because of their identity. Don't have to raise your hand. It's very sobering. Here's why. For me, it's sobering. I'm speaking personally. It's sobering because could we have a cure for HIV if we had let people in, if we had let thinkers in and trained them? Could we have, I don't know, world peace? Had we had the right people in the right places at the right time with the proper information? But because we have a history as a human family, I don't just mean the United States, but as a human family of systemically keeping individuals out and keeping certain people in. What that means is that we are a poorer human family. And this is the work of inclusion and diversity and equity. If you scroll a little bit more, you can see some more of those federal laws that we all have agreed to because we are citizens. Rehabilitation Act, 1973. I mean, it's just so many, right? So if somebody were to ask you, well, what is it that people that do DEI do? We uphold federal and state laws. That's what we do. And if we don't like them, we can vote them differently. Now, speaking of doing things the same way, I'm going to walk away. All right, just letting folks know that can see me on the camera. I'm going to give you one of these, and I hope you have something to write with. If you don't, I'm going to give you something to write with. Everybody at the table may not do. But what you're going to do is you're going to follow the directions. On the front part of this, it's going to ask you to do something. Drop it. You can do that. I can. And so there's pins around. And so when you draw a pig, I want you to take a look at what you draw. And then, what that is. If you can't do it, draw it mentally. Draw it mentally. If you don't have anything to write with, draw it mentally. I'll stand right here in front of the camera. Okay, there we go. Hi. All right. You gotta draw fast. You gotta do some fancy work here. Make it your best pig ever. Best pig ever. I see people getting nervous. The folks that are not artists, that's okay. No judgment. Judgment-free zone. Judgment-free zone. So what we're doing is we're just drawing a pig. Drawing a pig. Don't use the graph. Look at people cheating. They're looking, they're like, oh, let me look at this graph. Just draw it. You don't even have to don't use the directions on the other side. No. You don't have to do that. I can see some folks are rule breakers. Some people are like, let me go ahead and follow directions first. To each their own, All right, now as you're drawing, I'm gonna tell you a story because I only got so much time, all right? So here's my story. So it was this lady named Iris Heavy Runner Pretty Paint. Iris Heavy Runner Pretty Paint. If you can remember that and Google it later, I'm impressed. Iris Heavy Runner Pretty Paint. So I was at this conference in North Dakota because I used to live there for 10 years. So I went to an Indian child welfare conference, and what they were considering is whether indigenous children should be placed in the homes of people that are not indigenous. And this lady was talking, everything she does is about resilience. And so she had put up things that make people resilient. And so on the board it said things like humor, the role of elders, family, things like that. What makes you resilient? And so then she goes on to ask people 4 questions. And she said, in her particular tribe, what they do is they ask individuals under the age of 8 4 questions in order to determine where in the tribe they will serve. And so the 4 questions I'm going to ask of you while people are writing and making their pig, okay? And these 4 questions I'm going to tell you after we compare pigs, I'm going to tell you the interpretation. So the first question is, name an animal. Not out loud, show yourself. Lock and loaded. Name a bird. Name a place with no windows and no doors. How does it make you feel? Actually, that's the last question. The third question is, name a body of water and how does it make you feel? All right. So the first question, what's the first question again? The animal. My animal was Pookie. He was a rabbit that we had in Cleveland. He would chew gum, walk upstairs. He's like a person. And we used to take him to, it was a lot of faith houses in inner city Cleveland. And we used to take him to mosques, temples, churches, you name it, and have people pet him for $1. Made a lot of money off of that rabbit. And so I remember Pookie. So Pookie was my animal. So then what was the next one? The bird. I'm from Ohio. What do you think I chose? It's also the cardinal. It's also the Virginia state bird. So I chose the cardinal. So lots of positive memories about that. Lots of positive memories about the next one too. That body of water, how does it make me feel? I'm from Cleveland. Lake Erie. All right. So I remember catching bullheads. If you fish, you know what bullheads look like. They're ugly fish and they swim with catfish. And my granddad saying, don't throw that back, it's good eating. And I'm like, be free. They're fish, they literally look like bulls. Anyway, trauma for myself. All right, and so then that last one, I couldn't figure it out. Now I'll get to that, I'm gonna get back to that, okay? So let's go back to our drawings. When you drew, some people follow the directions, I'm loving it. Some people are like, forget the directions, it's gonna make them draw big. How many people, by show of hands, paid attention to the directions? Okay, so I have to ask the other half. All right, so the other half, could you hold up your pig, please? Show it to somebody at the table. Be proud of it. Wonderful. I like that you made the pig small, put in one quadrant. I like that. All right, okay. So when we do inclusion work, the work of including other people, like I'm using the mic, making sure that everybody can hear me. That may be hard of hearing or not, or just want to read lips, right? I'm making sure that I'm as inclusive as I possibly can be. That I am standing here in front of this camera once I knew that it was here, right? So I'm communicating properly because I want people to also gain this message. That's the work of inclusion. Making sure that you're adding more water to the soup so that more people can get exactly what they need in order to participate. Equity, which is a controversial word for many, right? Anybody got any thoughts on that? No, I'm not gonna ask you that because it's highly controversial right now. But I can tell you, from my perspective, equity is, again, not only having that basis of what I just talked about inclusion, but also making sure that people come up to a level set where they have what they need in order to participate, and also that the institution is properly acknowledging that participation or agency. Because I worked in government too. We try to make sure that we do that. Okay, so diversity. That's an easier pill to swallow for many people because it's just difference. It's just difference. And people often, when I speak, of course, because let's be real, it's the prototype that I come in, I'm brown, I'm female, they think that I'm automatically going to talk about race. But inclusion and diversity and equity work are way bigger than gender, is way bigger than race. We live in a broad world. Many of you have traveled abroad before. You know, classism is a real issue, is it not? It's a big world. And there's a lot of issues in order to make sure that the human families can be as progressive as it possibly can be. So that's a summation of the type of work that I do. I definitely will welcome if you want to talk to me about it after, if you wanted to email me. If you're like, I don't like what you said. Well, you know, don't email if you don't like what I said. No, I'm just joking. You can, because I'm a public servant and I want to make sure that people are definitely understanding these concepts, because just like that federal legislation that you see there, we have to uphold that because it's beneficial for all of us, not just some of us. Now, going back to what Iris Heavy Runner Pretty Paint said, and then I'll sit down. I'm good on time? Yep. All right. So that last one, a place with no windows and no doors. So I stood about 20-some people deep because I could not think of any place. And so when I got up to her, I said, hey, Kathy, how are you? And I introduced myself. And I said, I want to ask you something. She said, well, wait, honey, you're going to ask me about that last question, aren't you? I said, yes, ma'am, I am. I said, are you clairvoyant? She said, no, I'm not. But she said, you seem to be the only person in here who is Black African American. And I said, I look like it. Yeah, I can see that. And she said, yeah. Okay. And she said, you're going to ask me about that last question. I said, yeah. And she said, before you do, oh, by the way, the only people that were in the room were white identifying people and indigenous people. And they didn't look like me. So she could pick me out in the crowd. And so she went on to say that, she said, look, before you ask me, I want you to know that I never did tell you whether you were indoors or out. I just said, name a place with no windows and no doors. That was profound for me. Profound. And the reason that was profound for me is that she said, because I told her, I said, look, I couldn't picture anything. And she said, well, you're on your own journey and you have to figure that out. I have figured it out since. But basically the interpretation of that, and I'll go back. By the way, the first one was who you are. The second one was your inner spirit. The third one was how you see relationships. And the fourth is how you see death. So for me at that time, I was going from a place where, you know, you heard the old saying before, you can never truly go back home. North Dakota, right? So that's where I was going. And so I realized there was nothing that I could do in order to fully integrate back into the communities from which I came. I was going somewhere different. I was sojourning in a way. And that set the trajectory for the bravery that I would get when someone introduced to me the concept of leaving the continent to go to another continent. It was a scary thing for me. And something that I was not familiar with. But then it all dawned upon me at the same time. I have a calling on my life and I'm supposed to sojourn. I never really am home anywhere. And that's okay. Because I realize I'm supposed to be a world citizen and I'm supposed to be giving wherever I go. And so that's something that Rotary helps me to deepen in my journey. And I'm extremely grateful for my experiences all the way from when I was not a Rotarian all the way to when I was, my presidencies, being secretary, all the things that Rotary has afforded me, all the life connections that I have. And I'm grateful for you all. I'm grateful that you have chosen to be here today, and also that you have been chosen to continue the legacy of the founder. That's extremely important. And so with that said, I just want to say thank you again for welcoming me here today. I feel so welcome. And please stay on my heels and keep asking me to join. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Carter Hoyt, for your presentation. It was really great to hear the perspectives that you shared. And I know she was sincere that questions for her. We are just right up against the time, but questions for her, please come visit her, get her contact information, and learn more about what she shared. So with that said, thank you again for all of our guests, which again, I need glasses because I'm old, but Dale, thank you. Faith and Lillian, Amanda, thank you for coming with us today, and we are adjourned.